So hey again and welcome back to my tier list, so to say. I want to make a tier list for every role just because I feel like it's a little bit more detailed or it's easier to understand when I focus on every role itself. So I will make a part for every role, show or talk about every tier list I have for each role. And then at the end, when I talked about every role, I will show the whole tier list to see if I still agree, because to talk about where every champion stands in the meta or in the game currently, you basically have to see all those champions together. So it's it's possible that I might change some champions, put them up or down when I see all champions together, just because it depends on where every champion stands. So just because, I don't know, some champion is now S tier doesn't mean that he stays S tier when I see all the other champions. But I think I just talk too much again. So just again to the tiers I'm talking about, S tier is just kind of works always, kind of works everywhere on every map, in or against every comp. So don't really pay attention to the metas in the comp or stuff like that. You always want to pay attention to the composition, to the team compositions, but those champions basically work at every time, so to say. A tier are still strong picks, and you're still able to just play and kind of counter S tier picks, so to say, but you have to or want to pay more attention to decide which champion you want to play. So maybe you have to choose between two A champions, then you want rather pay attention to the composition than just picking them, so to say. B tier is just average, so they're good, they are okay to play, but you want to play different champions if they're open. If not, then B tier is completely fine. You still can win games. You basically, I mean, you can win games with every champion, but it might be harder with lower tiers, so to say. C is kind of situation, so not really that good picks, but they work in specific maps or comms is pretty good, so that's why they're still C tier or something like that. But basically not the best pick because they are either hard to master, hard to make work, so to say, or just get countered really, really easily. And D tier is last tier, so not a good pick. So basically, you want to try to not pick them. If there's no other way, then okay, then you can't do anything about it, so to say. Then you just pick them, I guess. But there will always be another champion than a D tier champion, so to say. So let's get started. And I think, let me see, first support is Corvus. And Corvus got nerfed. I think he's B tier for me. He got nerfed, so his basically his main heal legendary got nerfed, so you heal less with his marks. So it's a little bit harder to sustain your whole team. It is still possible. I've played a lot matches with a really good Corvus, and I know that it's possible to actually heal a lot, so around 250k or something like that, even with those nerfs. But I feel like it's now harder to perform well on him or to just keep your team alive. You have to think about more what target you want to heal. You have to really think about decisions you need to make or want to make, just because your heal is decreased and it's harder. So you need to wait until Cord fell off or something like that. So a little bit harder to actually be good with him or to just keep your team alive. So that's why I think he's BT. He's still a good pick. He brings a lot of utility to his team. So because he has the option to give you lifesteal, he has the option to give you movement speed, he has the option to heal through the whole map or over the whole map through walls and stuff like that. So this makes him really, really strong and stuff like that. But as I said, his heal isn't that much anymore. So even if you're able to still heal a lot, you need to work hard to make him good, so to say. So not the easiest pick to perform well on. And this tier list is basically more like a which champion you want to play to rank up, or which champions are easier to rank up with. I still pay attention to how strong the raw potential of the champion is, but I also consider like how easy it is to make them work, how easy it is to master them. So it's kind of a mixed tier list between easy picks to rank up and really, really good raw mechanics of the champion. So not only a tier list about who is the best champion in the game, and not like I expect the best players on each champion. So if I would consider, if I would see the champions with the best players on them, then the tier list would look completely different, because you can't expect everyone to be the best on the champion. That's why I also want to pay attention to how easy they are to master, because it always depends on the elo you're playing in and stuff like that. So that's why it might look a little bit different than other tier lists, because I personally want to consider all the other aspects, like how easy to master, how easy to make work, and stuff like that. That's just something I wanted to say here. So yeah, that's basically why Corvus is B tier for me. Next champion, Furia, and Furia is, I don't know, it's hard. So I don't know. Yeah, I think she's probably S tier. Well, if I would consider the tanks, or if I wouldn't put her on the same tier as my S tier tanks are. That's why I probably, if I would see the tanks as well, I would put her in A tier. But only for supports, I would put her in S tier, because she's definitely S tier support pick for me. Without looking at the other roles, so to say. That's why my tier list is now a little bit different that it will be in the end. So S tier support pick, she brings a lot of utility for herself. She has her beams to protect herself. She has her beams to stun and interrupt some abilities, so to say, like interrupt Khan shield, interrupt core shield if he's not playing harsh shield, interrupt nano shield, and stuff like that. So a lot of utility, stun, flanks, win 1v1s. She brings out a lot of DPS pressure because she deals a lot of damage. She can increase her attack speed just by healing. She has a lot of range when playing Cherish. So Furia is just a great pick, great support pick for me. She can be played as a DPS while healing, so to say, because she brings out so much utility and damage that she's really, really strong in my opinion. Just because a lot of real potential as well, even though she only has one resource of heal, so to say, but still great heal, and her damage is what makes her really, really strong, and her ultimate, because her ultimate is literally uncounterable. So you give your whole team movement buff, so movement speed buff, attack speed buff, and damage buff. So the enemy team can't counter it, which is pretty broken and makes her really, really strong. So again, for supports S tier. I will in the end look at all champions together, so then she might drop again. Next support, Grohk. I don't know. He's probably C tier, D tier. Well, C tier. I think C tier. He's not that bad. He got buffed in the past. His Spirits of Man got buffed. He also brings a lot of utility with the right cards, so you can give your whole team 40% movement increase, movement speed increase while using your totem when you use the cards, obviously. And I don't know. I personally would like to see Spirits Remain Grohk more than a Totemic Ward Grohk, just because you have more heal. But Spirits Remain is also easy to counter just because of shields. If the enemy team has a lot of shields, then you can't heal your team through the shield. That's why I think therefore Totemic Ward would be better. I still think it's hard to make him work. I still think there are a lot of healers which are easier to play, which are easier to sustain your whole team. I think now he's not really in a good state. He's in okay state, I'd say, but his whole champion kit is kind of rough for support, I guess. So that's why I think he's C tier. Maybe situational, maybe on some maps you want to pick him, want to play him. I don't know, maybe if also other good supports are banned or you don't feel comfortable on him, then you might pick Grohk. But I think there will always be a support who is easier to play and easier to make work. So he's not a bad pick. He can work. He brings out great heal when playing correctly, so to say. But I think he's CT for me. So just because he gets countered by shields when playing Spirit's Domain, he stays in combat when playing Spirit's Domain. You usually don't want to use your totems for yourself. So no option to give yourself heal by healing your team, so to say, like other healers have. Like take Furia, for example. She can add a card in her loadout where she receives also healing while using her right click on allies. So that's why I think he's not that great. And that's why I think he's CT for me. So next support, Grover. And I think, yeah, Grover is average, I think. Just because I feel like his main heal legendary kind of dropped out of the meta. Although I still think it's a really strong legendary. So Rampant Blooming is for me still a really great legendary. I've seen a lot of people complaining about Rampant Blooming, but it's just a strong pick. So I don't know. I think Rampant Blooming is still a good pick for me, but most Grovers just run Deep Roots for the shorter cooldowns on their heal, so to say, which is okay. I think it's also a great legendary. You also bring out great DPS and utility while rooting the enemy, which is pretty strong. But sadly, his resets don't work anymore on deployables and shields and stuff like that. So that's why he kind of dropped a little bit for me. And I don't know. It's just, I think there are just other healers who are easier to play and to sustain your whole team, because your team also needs to play around you, needs to play around your circle, your healing circle, so to say. It's harder for you to zone and like capture, heal your team and stuff like that. Your team needs to play or needs to know how to play around Grover heal, just because you have a limited range. That's a point I don't like about him. I mean, he's a good champion, he's great and stuff, but just the limited range makes it kind of hard for me to put him a little bit higher, and all the other reasons make it kind of hard for me to put him higher than he currently is. And yeah, that's just it for Grover. So next champion, Io. Well, I don't know, D tier. Maybe C tier. I don't know. Between, I think she's high D tier, low C tier, something like that. Just because Luna doesn't capture anymore. They took out the best part about Io, the best part about Luna. They always wanted to keep it in the game. I've never understood why she kept at the same speed a normal player captures. In my opinion, you can just add, like, she only captures at 30% speed. So she still captures the point or pushes the card, but for lower speed or decreased speed would be better for me than how it is now. And her heal, well, Lifelink IO is a lot of heal. It could work, but you have to play around Luna. Your team needs to know how to play around Luna. That's a thing I don't like when you also need your team to help you to heal, so to say. Because if your team down stays in Luna Circle, or if you always have to swap around Luna because your team always runs around and stuff like that, then it's harder for you to make her work. It's harder for you to get out great heals, just because you have to pay a lot of attention to your team, where your team wants to set up and stuff like that. And Luna is not that strong anymore. They reverted the HP nerf. I think it's back how she used to be, so that's good. But the fact that Luna doesn't capture anymore is like, you can't play, or you don't want to play the damage reduction IO, because therefore you wanted to put Luna on point, so you can push up and zone with 5 players, and Luna is on the point and get shots. captures the point. But now that she doesn't capture anymore, you can't put her on the point, you can't get out the damage reduction. I mean, you still can get out the damage reduction, but the whole playstyle of Goddess Blessing IO is gone now. So that, or since Luna doesn't capture anymore. And yeah, lifelink is just harder for me to work. And Sacrifice isn't really a support legendary, it's more like DPS IO. And here I'm just talking about the supports, so the heal legendaries, not about the damage legendaries. Well, okay, let's also talk about damage legendaries, since I kind of talked about the Bruce Grover. So Sacrifice, yes, Sacrifice is still okay. I think they reduced the initial cooldown of Sacrifice, so that's a thing which is kind of good about her. But I think she's also hard to play as damage IO. There are definitely other champions which are better for playing as a off support, so to say. And yeah, I think that's just why she's D tier for me. High D tier and lower C tier. So it's kind of rough now to actually make her work. And I mean, she still has a lot of heal and stuff, but all the other advantages she brought are now gone. So that's why she's that low for me. So Jenos, I think Jenos is average. He's B tier for me. His damage buff isn't 15% anymore, it's 10% now, so not that great anymore. You still can pick it, you still can pocket a DPS, play him as just a pocket healer or something like that. But there are a lot of other options which are easier to make work, which bring more utility than just 10% damage buff. So that's why he's B tier for me. He's also below Corvus in my opinion, just because Corvus brings more utility than just damage buff, and the damage buff is only 10% annual, so that's why he kind of dropped out, or dropped a little bit for me. That's why he's B tier. Other healers have more healing, because it's kind of rough to play about. Jenos heals, especially for the point tank, it's kind of rough to sustain a real 1v1 on the point, or more than a 1v1, like a real point fight. Only with Jenos heals, I mean, he has the damage advantage and stuff like that, but still it's hard to actually sustain long enough and stuff like that. So you really have to play more carefully when want to get fully healed and stuff like that. He's great for DPS and flanks, especially on some flanks. He works pretty good, but I think the nerf of his damage buff kinda made him drop, and just for the fact that the other supports are a little bit better or easier to make work, get out more heals, and also great utility and stuff like that. That's why he kinda dropped to B tier for me. So, and I mean, okay, if you look at Binary Star, I think he's a little bit higher with Binary Star, so as a DPS, just because Binary Star is I don't know, it's kind of broken. They nerfed or decreased all the lifesteal life cards in the game, except of Jenos lifesteal card. It's still 35%, so with Binary Star, 35% lifesteal, and maybe you buy life rip as an item, you're really tanky. And it's a lot of DPS he brings out. So as Binary Star Jenos, I probably wouldn't put him a little bit higher, but it's just the healing Jenos, so to say, B tier, low B tier, I think, or mid B tier, I guess. So next healer, let me see, Maldamba. Maldamba is kind of S tier for me, just because he has a lot of he brings a lot of utility. He has stuns, he has his ultimate, so his fear, so he brings CC. He has a lot of healing, especially with the buffs now. He feels so great with all the buffs he received. So that's just, I don't know, he's just a great pick for me. He brings out a lot of damage. Also compared to other healers, it's just harder to hit them because he has projectile damage, or projectile attacks, so to say. So other supports have hit scan damage or hit scan attacks. He has projectile attacks, which is a little bit harder to hit. But he also has like 2 abilities at once. He has his Gourd, which heals and damages if you're not playing Ripened Gourd. But the Gourd is pretty good. You have 2 resources of heal. You have your right click and your Gourd, so your Q, which is pretty good. And you have a lot of range on your heals. And I don't know, he's just at a really, really good spot for me right now. The only thing why I put him to 8 here is, in my opinion, he's the hardest healer or the hardest support to actually master. You actually need to be really, really good. I mean, it's okay to play him as on a decent level. That's fine. I mean, many people can play him on a decent level. But what makes the difference between a decent Dumber and a top tier or really good Dumber is not only hitting your heals and knowing where to throw your Gourd and when to use your right click and stuff. You also need to get those nice or great stuns on flanks. You want to be aggressive. You want to get out DPS. You want to annoy the enemy team with your stuns, with your damage, with your Gourds and stuff like this, with your ult. So there's a lot more than just hitting your heals and Dumber. And I mean, even hitting heals and Dumber is harder than on other supports because he has a hit scan heal, and almost every other support has like a auto aim heal or area heal or something like that. So that's also what makes him a little bit harder. So see, that's what I talked about in the beginning. I not only look at the raw champion kit or champion potential and stuff like that, I also want to consider how easy it is to master him. So that's why I put Dumber a little bit lower. Just because, I mean, if you would only look at his kit and all what he brings, and if you expect the best player on Dumber, then he's definitely S tier. But just because for the fact he's so hard to master, and I also want to show champions you can play to easily rank up or who are easy to win games with. That's why I put him a little bit lower, because I also look at the mastery of this champion. So that's it for Dumber, I guess. Next champion is Pip. And Pip, well, okay, if I would do like rank, yeah, then Pip is above Grohk for me. Pip is, yeah, I think, yeah, C tier. I think you can say he's C tier. He's played more often as a flank Pip, DPS Pip, so playing DPS Pip you see more often than just heal Pip. I think his heal feels a little bit better than Grohk heal, just because it's, I don't know, it's easier to hit, it's easier to make work, just because you heal 700, or no, I think it's actually 750 now, they buffed it again, at once. So with one shot for Grohk, you actually need to target your ally to heal over the whole duration, so to say, which makes it harder. You also get countered by shields when playing Combat Medic Pip. And for playing Mega Potion Pip, you need your team to be good enough to play with Mega Potion. You need your team to know that you'll probably only receive a burst of heal every 4 to 5 seconds. Your team needs to know to play a little bit more together to get the resets for Pip. But that's also bad, so to say, because usually you don't want your whole team to be at one spot, because then it's so easy for the enemy team to deal damage and attack you. So that's also what it makes kind of hard for him, in my opinion. And I don't know, just another aspect, so to say, he has a huge hitbox, so he gets countered really easily just by picking Angeloxus, who has it pretty easy to deal headshots to kill Pip in time and stuff like that. And I think there are just other supports who are easier to play, in my opinion, who are better and bring out more or better or different heals, so to say, which fit more into compositions and playstyles and stuff like this. So that's why I think he's situational. His DPS pick is also situational. His DPS is pretty good. Even his base DPS without playing actually in DPS Legendary is pretty good, in my opinion. so you also can deal a lot of damage, protect yourself against flanks and stuff like that. He also brings great utility while having a slow in his space kit and his ultimate, which is pretty strong, but gets countered obviously by resilience. Same for the other supports having CC in their kit, so to say. But I think you can make him work. I think a good Pip can still heal his whole team, still carry the game and stuff like that with good ultimates and great heals and stuff like that. But it's really hard to actually play him on a good level and just play around all the other champions or around all the flanks and DPS and stuff like that and still heal your team. And that's why I think he's C tier. So he works on some maps better than on other maps, obviously. So still a optional pick you can keep in mind to play him as a support or even as a damage. But that's why, I don't know, he's just C tier for me. So next support is Seris. I think Seris is epic. I mean, it looks weird to see Seris and Dama on the same or in the same tier, so to say. Just because, I don't know, she hasn't been there at all for the past years. But the buffs feel so good to her. Her healing is insanely good now. You heal at a great amount of speed, so to say, which is pretty good. So if you time it correctly on being not affected by cauterize, you can heal your team so fast, can heal your team up so fast. And she also brings great utility, or she would bring great utility, but sadly it gets countered. So her ultimate would be really strong if it would go through shields, but it doesn't. So that's why I think in a competitive play, in a competitive game, in pro games or even higher elo rank games, her ultimate gets countered really easily just by shielding. Your tanks pay attention to ultimates. You always should pay attention to ultimate voice lines to know what's going on, and then put a shield up and just counter it, or CC. So anti-CC themselves, like Inara with Earthenguard, Mother's Grace, and stuff like that. So that's why I think what makes her ult a little bit weaker, but her heal is so strong now. The other legendaries also feel so strong on her, like Agony and Soul Collector are damage options which feel pretty good. Her buffs to her Rend Soul, it's called, I think, so to her Q are really good because you heal yourself for all stacks you detonate, which feels really good, especially with the decreased cooldown. And the decreased cooldown also works for Agony, which is really good. So she's in a really good spot currently for me. And maybe a little bit better as damage, I don't know, than as support, just because if you get cauterized, then it's kind of rough for her. But until the enemy team, or even if the enemy team has caught 3, she still can work and just easy. And she's really easy to play in my opinion, because you have no hits can heal. You can heal your team, all your teammates at once if they are stacked up, so to say. And just press right click and heal, get out some orbs to damage the enemy team, get out a great ultimate. Pretty easy for me, in my opinion. That's why I think if you really look at how easy they are to master and stuff like it, that's why I think it's okay to put them or her on the same tier as Dumba. So I think next and actually last support is Ying, and Ying is, yeah, I think she's B tier for me. She brings out a lot of heals. I think she has the most healing potential in the game currently. Her ultimate is kind of broken. She heals all her allies over the whole map for a lot of heals at once. And she's kind of lacking on utility. That's why she's only BT to me. And you kind of can counter her illusions when destroying them. She can get cooldown reduction after an illusion dies, so to say. But I think they are easier in kind of better picks than Ying. She's a great pick to just get out healing. Just be healing, but so to say. But that's not all what you want for the game. That's why the other supports are kind of above Ying in my opinion, because they just bring more utility. They have a little bit of buff or advantage they bring to the team more than Ying does, because the only thing where she's really good at is healing. And I mean, you still can play her as DPS Ying. She's also a great pick. Like focusing lens, Ying is also great at 1v1ing flanks and DPS players and stuff like that. But she's really lacking on utility. That's why she's below, and I think that's why she's also low B tier for me, just because the only thing she really does is healing. That's why I think she's B tier. She's a great healer if you only would look at healers, so the healing numbers, then she would be higher for me. But those are supports. Those aren't only healers. They are supports. So they want or they need to support their team. So if they have some kind of utility they bring to their team, that's what makes them better than just having a great amount of feet, so to say. And I think her mastery is okay. It's not that hard to actually master her. There are some easier champs to master, obviously, but I think that's why it's also fine for me if I look at the mastery of the champion to put it at B tier. And just let me look, but I think we have every support. So that's it for the support tier list, I guess. Again, I not only look at the raw champion kit, I also want to look at how easy they are to master, or how easy they are to make work. That's why my tier list might look a little bit different than other tier lists. And I also will look at all the champions, all the tiers at once in the end when I talked about every role itself. So then I also will swap some champions, so put them up or down, because I want to see all champions at once to really say if they are S tier or A tier. But I think doing those tier lists for each role is better to get a better overview over the game itself, I guess. So thank you for watching. Let me guess, or let me know what your thoughts are. Tell me what you think. Tell me which champions you put a little bit higher, you would put a little bit below, or something like that. Tell me why you have a different opinion. So I also want to get another view on the game. I want to see other thoughts. So tell me what you think, and yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've had a nice day. Always remember, don't forget, you guys are awesome.